With DUNE Spice Wars around the corner, there's been a lot of hype surrounding the game, but also many who still have some questions relating to this RTS. Red here, and in this video I'm going to go over 9 things you should know before playing DUNE Spice Wars. Some of them you might not know, but some of them, if you've been following me for a while, you may know based on my previous QA videos. Firstly, DUNE Spice Wars is an RTS, but with 4X elements. So what exactly are these 4X elements, and why isn't it a traditional RTS like Dune 2, Emperor Battle for Dune, or some of the Command & Conquer games? Now, the 4X stands for Expand, Exploit, Exterminate, and Explore, and some of the games similar to this is Age of Wonders, Planetfall, Humankind, Civilization 6, as well as Stellaris. Even though DUNE Spice Wars will have RTS elements in that sense, as in base building, resource gathering, and unit production, it will be more focused on the 4X elements. Thus, it does look somewhat different than the more traditional RTS games. One important factor that I think everybody needs to know about DUNE Spice Wars is the release date. Now, this game is currently scheduled for the 26th of April, which is right around the corner, and you can find a link to the Steam page in the description below. Now, speaking of Steam is the platform of the game. Currently, DUNE Spice Wars is only releasing on Steam for PC, as there is no word for console release or any other platform, but the developers hasn't ruled out the possibility of future console ports, but that would require a complete redesign of the UI, as it is quite a complex game, more fit for a mouse and keyboard than a gamepad. Granted, current gen consoles can use mouse and keyboards as well, so perhaps we'll see a port in the future where the only way to play this game on console will be by using a mouse and keyboard. Now, one question on many people's minds is, will this game be based on the movie or the books? Although much of DUNE Spice Wars is somewhat of their own interpretation, much of their design comes from board games, comics, card games, as well as the latest Dune movie and of course the books. The developers have said multiple times that they want to stay true to the books itself, thus we won't really see vehicles at launch, nor will we see a faction like House Ordos, which we've seen in previous Dune games, but that might change in future updates. Now, speaking of houses, currently there are 4 factions confirmed: House Atreides, House Harkonnen, the Fremen, as well as the Smugglers. Looking at the variety of units and buildings, each faction does seem vastly different from one another, and it definitely seems that they'll play very different from one another as well. We've yet to see gameplay of Fremen and the Smugglers, but hopefully we'll see a bit more before early access next week. Speaking of early access, DUNE Spice Wars is going to be an early access game for roughly a year, so a lot will change from the early access to the final release. The developers has already stated that they're going to add another faction during early access, and add a lot of features to the game, so it is quite possible that the release we'll see next week will be vastly different than the final version of the game, which will probably release early 2023. Even though the early access of the game will have some narrative elements, there will unfortunately be no campaign in DUNE Spice Wars. The developers did state that they're not there yet to add a campaign to the game, and they don't know what form it'll take, but a narrative campaign will probably have a different story, as each faction will likely have their own campaign. This was a big part of the original Dune games, so I hope we see some sort of campaign before the full release next year. As for the game's release itself, the download size is a mere 3 GB, which is quite small, but of course this will change over time as more features and functions of the game is added during the early access of the title. And finally, the price of the game is going to be $29.99 during early access, but that could change once the game goes into a full release. So if you do want to jump in onto the early access price, then I would definitely recommend you purchase this game straight away, as it'll likely go up to $39 or even $49.99 once the game releases fully next year. Even if you want to wait for the full release before playing it, I would highly recommend purchasing it at $29.99, because then at least the game is in your Steam library, and then you can download it once the full game releases 2023. These are just a few things that you need to know before playing DUNE Spice Wars next week, but you can expect a ton of Dune content in the next week as the game goes into early access. And if you have any questions on DUNE Spice Wars, then let me know in the comments below. For more gaming content, check out the rest of my channel, and if you enjoyed this video, then give me a thumbs up. If you dislike it, then give me a thumbs down, but please tell me why so I can improve my videos. My name is Frank, I'm the RedTieGuy, and frankly, thank you for watching. Catch you guys in the next video.